very, very excited today, because I'm going to be talking to this gentleman, man. This guy, I think he was even creative from the time he was in his mother's womb, man. Show some love. Creativity is what? I think he's an actor, he's a director, he's a filmmaker, he's done some films, he's done documentaries, he's worked with every international broadcasting corporation you can think of. And now we are lucky to have him back in Ghana because he's actually the head of the AUCC School of Creative Arts. Put your hands together and let's welcome Dr. Kwesi Owusu. I think I'm best
I'm so excited to be on this show. When it comes to your acting and it comes to your inspirational journalism and of course the show. I mean, it's so interactive, so ingenious, inspiring. In fact, there's only one KSM in Ghana.
You have been able to make me blush, man. Well, Doc, it was so good to hear that you are heading the African University College of Communications, the Creative Arts School of Creative. Yeah. But we'll get into your creativity. But let's go back a little bit, man, because this is what I hear. If I'm wrong, tell me. I hear that you started your creativity back in the secondary school.
Yeah.
You're actually writing love letters for guys. Is it true?
I actually earned a bit of money as well.
And they paid you for that?
Oh, absolutely. I had a long list of clients. Some are very famous now, actually. But when it came to writing love letters, I don't think they did very well, And the interesting thing is that a lot of young ladies, develop a bit more creatively at secondary school. You used to read Mills and Boons, all the love stories. But the guys,
the guys,
you are my oxygen. If you don't give me, I'll die. I'm the fish in your sea. Can you imagine if it dries up? I mean, which lady is going to get excited by that? So they came to me, and I crafted some really nice, poses for them. It's just incredible, and it worked.
Wow.
And basically, I went to Adisada College, and around us were all the girls' schools. So, if you have a girlfriend in, say, Wesley Girls, a Holy Child, you're bound to visit them on a Saturday. So you need a nice love letter to reach her before Saturday.
Okay.
So I got.
So you read the letters.
I got very busy on Wednesdays because then you have to post the letter, get there on Friday before you get there on Saturday. And occasionally I ran out of words. So I repeated. So one fine day I actually got a bit caught out. Two ladies were reading the same love letter
from different guys. Same words.
The same words, but. I changed my style. It worked really well. And that's how it started, really. And then, of course, I was doing literature. The poets from, Francophone Africa, Lamin Senghor, Leopold Senghor, all of those. And then the Ghanaian writers, Ayukwe Ama, the Gap Boys, Cameron Dodu, the Sutherlands and so on.
Atukwe Okan.
Really exciting. He had just come back from Russia at that time, full of energy and using Ghanaian idioms within the English language. Really, really exciting.
Wow. And now, I also got to talk about you now heading the School of Creative Arts at AUCC. And I found out that you are actually taught by Mr. Kojoyanka at some point?
Absolutely. He was actually doing national service at that time, and he came to Adisada, also very young and creative and all of that. And he started it off. We had a forum called the Youth Forum. And of course, after writing the love letters for my friends and so on, I was quite good with poetry. So I wrote all of these exciting poetries and actually got on television. I actually remember Just Ayu was one of the producers at BBC Talent for Tomorrow. And I got really, really famous around that time, so kind of reading poetry. And Kojoyanka definitely was very inspirational, So it was a great honor.
Okay. And for those of you who do not know, Kojoyanka is actually the guy who founded the AUCC. And it's interesting that after he built it up into a very magnificent school, actually, and he called his former student.
Protégé. Honorable Kojoyanka, of course,
Honorable
was a
Kojoyanka,
Minister of Information, had done so much. But building AUCC has been an incredible achievement, as a private person with a passion for education and creative education, And as you know, the creative arts is now a real fantastic entry into all kinds of professions around the world. Creative goods are really, selling billions around the world markets and so on. And I think we Ghanaians also need to have our share of this, really. And the starting point is to pick up the skills. And if you have the skills, come and refresh the skills. There's so many new things happening, on social media, film, television development, and so on.
So people who are watching us now, who want to get into the creative arts, and you've said a lot so far about what's happening, how creativity is driving the world right now. As the first head of the school, what do you envision? What do you see doing at the School of Creative Arts at AUCC that's going to be very different, that's going to make it more dynamic?
I think it's very important to define creative arts as a career path for young people especially, because a lot of the people who are into film, television, and so are not pursuing those as realistic career paths. A lot of them haven't got a certification, a lot of them learned on the job, and so on. I mean, if, for example, 10 years ago, your son came to you and said, I want to be a blogger, what would you say to them? First, you will not probably understand what it means to be a blogger.
First, what's a blogger?
You probably think a plumber who has to fill a hole or something. My daughter's a blogger, and she is doing that as a career, and she's doing very well, of course, across the ocean. But that's really one of the interesting things I want to do. Also, I think opening our minds to critical thinking is really, really important, in the creative arts. And then, of course, we want to make sure that if you pick up a skill, you can use it appropriately, earn the money, and develop yourself as a creative artist. That is the one thing. There are also all kinds of things we can do to improve our economy through the creative arts. Tourism is, for example, one very important area. I mean, if you go to all these forts and you see the people who are relaying our history, are they doing it to the best of their ability? Do they have the facts? How often do they go and refresh our courses? For that, tourist guides, for example. It's a real...
So like a tourist guide could, for example, enroll and be refreshed in the approach and everything?
Absolutely. As, a sign writer, that art is really dying out now, but why can't we revive that? Bring them back into the classroom and get them to maybe refresh their writings with Adinkra symbols and what have you. The technology is also moving on. Social media, for example, is another area, where young people are moving in, but they don't have the certification. They can do it very well. They don't have the certification. And if they come into the classroom, what's also interesting is that it's not going to be structured like a typical classroom. A lot of what is going to happen outside the classroom. We want to move away from this colonial perception, chew poor pass and get your certificate. We want people to develop their own talents, in a way. That's how I pursue my...
I was there when they were launching it, and you said something that really triggered my interest. You said that you asked the crowd, who has had Sarkodie's advice to Shatawale? I'm like... I did a double take, This is the dean of the school, the head of the faculty. What is he talking about? And then you pointed out something very, very interesting, that those are the people that are on the ground with certain things that we can learn from.
Absolutely.
You even said you wouldn't mind inviting Tawale to come and give a lecture. You explain what...
So when it comes to popular culture, I don't think we pay enough attention to what is actually happening, and for me, for my own historical interpretation of Ghanaian history, if you actually look at the art of the linguist, there's no better linguist in this country than Sarkodie. In the way he puts his words and all of that. There used to be one linguist who was actually a linguist in the First Republic, Ochame Akufu.
Yeah.
And when you hear Ochame Akufu narrate, and he used to do that before every opening of Parliament, it's just, an older version of Sarkodie for you. So when Sarkodie speaks, just like Akufu speaks during the First Republic, the whole nation should hear. So I come to a gathering, and this guy has released what I presume was a masterpiece, couching an advice. The whole nation should hear. And what's also interesting is the response of this guy who thinks he's the king of the ghetto and so on. He couldn't respond because he's not used to that lyricism. You know what he did to grab attention? He knelt down in front of stage and proposed to the girlfriend. That was his response. So me, I don't want to talk. Oh, yeah, the children, man. I go feel disgrace them. Oh boy, only words to know.
You're going to have the whole movement coming after you. And me too.
So I think it's going to be a new school, and
So you'll be tapping into things like this that you consider ignored. That's
absolutely.
You'll be tapping into.
There's going to be academic excellence, of course, from my pedigree in terms of what the whole world expects from Harvard. It can't be any other school which has lower standards like Harvard or Yale. But the approach is going to be very, very different. And it's on one-on-one. It's a modular system. If, for example, you are interested in social media, you can choose particular areas of social media you yourself want to develop, whether it's blogging, whether you want to build, corporate websites, whether you want to do photojournalism on social media, and so on. So that's really how it is kind of going to work. And the other strand, which I think is interesting, is to bring people of experience into the classroom. I mean, KSM, who will be greater than KSM talking to young journalists, satirists, playwrights, dramatists in this classroom.
So it's going to be that kind of school.
It's going to be really, yes,
Wow.
yes. You're going to have the excellent, academic atmosphere. We sit in a class, look at the theory, look at the praxis, and look at how you yourself want to develop. It's going to be really exciting. I mean, I've already got some designers, who basically are interested in using Adinkra symbols as emojis. Just think about emojis. You go on there, you want to say you are smiling, only some funny faces come up and you put there. But the kind of knowledge that you have, the references that you have, for to put there from the Adinkra symbols, it's incredible.
Wow.
Shatta Wale could have easily have knelt down with a placard of an Adinkra symbol saying, "I will marry you." And you could have got a better result. Because there are symbols for, I will marry you, I think, I like, very complex. In the olden days, during the Asante period and so on, you can actually use a gold weight of a certain meaning to buy your product as well as tell something to the person. So again, love references. I don't know all my references. I love these. But if you love a young woman who is selling something, you can pick up a particular gold weight which says "I love you" to buy the tomato or whatever from her.
Haven't we been so distant from these things now? For example, if Shatta had brought up an Adinkra symbol, nobody understands the symbol to begin with. We have been so cut off from our roots.
I know. It doesn't have to be obscure. The interesting thing about emojis are they're very visual and pictorial.
Yeah.
So when you are designing these things, you have to also take that into account. And anybody would see it. To start off with, maybe "I'll marry you" small on top with a sign, then people get to know. And once they start using it, it gets its own currency.
Praise the Lord, man. We have a few minutes, but your family, you married with kids? What's the family?
Yes. I've got a family here, and then I've got children in the UK, all doing very well, and so creative and so on, have the experiences to tell. I think the focus really of this is also going to be the young people, really. And I had a very interesting email from a friend of mine in Japan. One of the heads of Adidas in Japan passed on. And how he was buried? They actually ordered one of these fashion coffins from Labadi. Yeah,
Really?
Yeah. And it was made into an Adidas boot.
Sneakers? Really?
Yeah. And
You're from Ghana?
Yeah. They actually came here and then did that. And for the sole, they put 3-4 big diamonds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you can imagine if these artists are brought into the classroom, you can repackage some of these things and then sell them as cultural goods. So I think we all have an excellent role to play, from tourism to, to all facets of the economy. I mean, look at what we are doing with our kente and all of that, So there's a lot in there that I think we can all advance as a country.
Great, man. Put your hands together, man. So the School of Creative Arts, and it's, of course, at the African University College of Communication. Yeah. And somewhere along the line, I'll be giving you some more information for those of you who are interested. Because as you know, you should know by now that AUCC is one of those institutions that are proudly associated with the KSM show, So I'll be giving you more information on this. But you have to come back home, because we haven't even scratched the surface of...
Absolutely not. All the films and the
all the films.
And, I'm one of the few people, without dropping names, who saw Bob Marley live.
Oh, wow.
How many of us saw Bob Marley live? You're a very unique person. But when you listen to Bob Marley, you listen to the lyrics, the music is great. But seeing Bob Marley live,
it's a different experience.
It's just a different experience. And I'll tell you about that next time. Maybe
yeah. And I also want to find out about was it Global 2000? The
Jubilee 2000.
Jubilee 2000.
Absolutely.
I heard you were like a key
figure. With Bono and the others. Yeah. And, we went to Okinawa after the conference, started NEPAD with Obasanjo, Bouteflika, and Mbeki, and the others. And I mean, it's been a very interesting road, but I'm glad I'm here now and to also impart my knowledge and experience, to people who can take up the mantle, and so many things can change, if people are proud of themselves, not in any obscure way, but are very proud within a global framework where they can also stand and say, we have something to contribute, And incidentally, the world is looking at Africa for something new and exciting to happen, and culturally, I think there are powerful things to say and to be done.
Put your hands together, man. We're talking to Dr. Kwesi Owusu, who is the head of the School of Creative Arts at AUCC, and we're getting more information for all of you creatives who want to get there and understand and come up with different angles. The school to be at is the AUCC School of Creative Arts, or SOCA.
SOCA,
yeah.
That's also interesting. Soca is a great musical form in the Caribbean. And you actually know that during Ghana's independence, a lot of the Ghana independence songs were written by, Calypsonians.
Really?
Who then became, Ghana is free forever, Ghana, da, 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 da.
Oh, the Calypsonians?
Yeah, Calypso, yeah. Krishna was here. The greatest Calypsonian was here for the independence celebration.
We need to get you back, man. Thanks a lot one more time. Let's stick around. We'll be right back.
The KSM Show.
The last time he was on stage was in 2014. Some said he had retired. Guess what? The Godfather of Comedy is back in a hilarious show. KSM Unchained, a world-class masterpiece satire. Ebeya Wild Rough, December 7th.
At the National Theatre, 4 p.m. and 8 p.m.
Stay tuned.